Garden Express, Australia's leading mail ordering service, offering a wide range of quality gardening products. Each week on the Garden Gurus Live, the team at Garden Express will share a weekly offer. So make sure after today's show, you jump online and visit their website.
Hello, welcome to the Garden Gurus Live. I'm Trevor Cochrane. It's great to have you joining us today, this afternoon. It's terrific to be back here in my hometown of Perth, back here in Australia, of course. We have been doing this from all over the world, and it has been a heap of fun. Really has been fun trying to make it all work. You guys have supported us, and now it's all obviously coming together when we're back here at home. It's interesting, we've just had a big shower of rain here in Perth, and across the country the weather has varied quite dramatically. That's affecting everything that we're going to be doing and everything that we're all talking about. So just at the moment, one of the most important things will be to get out and feed your garden, and I'll talk about that a bit further on. Of course, we've got some favourite plants. I asked you if you saw the little prompt. There's some photos from my garden. We'll talk about those. Speaking of plants, of course, we are here to answer your gardening questions, but we're also here to inspire you. We've got my good mate, David from Garden Express, joining us. He's got a plant that we've both got a real passion for. We'll talk about that a bit later on. Might even be able to squeeze a good deal out of him so that you can put them into your garden. We've got some prizes to give away. Of course, we've got our $50 gift voucher for Garden Express. A bit later on, we're going to catch up with Andy or Mandy, I'm not sure which one, from the Kalamunda Garden Festival. Over here in Perth, there is this fantastic little festival that occurs, and I think they're going to give away a few double passes to that. But thought we'd have a chat with them as we're heading into the weekend, where they will have the festival running. Lovely family business, beautiful people, and a great show. So we'll talk about that. And I know it's over here in Perth, and for those people that are here, well, you'll be able to benefit. For those people that are not, we'll try and do it from some garden shows elsewhere as we move forward. All right, so here's the deal. You need to be sending me in your questions. You need to tell me where you are, what suburb you're in. That's a really important thing for us. If you can send through your suburb, the town or state, that really helps me when it comes to helping you with your problems. If you've got photographs, because it's difficult to describe, it makes it even easier for me. So let's see how we go. Maybe before we get into your questions, because they are all flying through, I just want to say a big hello to there's a whole bunch of people. Kerry McClure, hi Kerry. June LaFrance, hello June. Oh, I just lost a whole heap of them. Glenn Miller, Lynn, everybody who's saying hello to us. Down Under Fuller, g'day to you. Everybody's joining us, and you're from all over the country, which is absolutely fantastic. Really good to have it. Julie Foster, everybody, thanks very much. Great that you've joined us to have this, and we are going to have a lot of fun over the next hour. Let's start off with my good mate, David Van Berkel from Garden Express. Here he is.
Happy to be here, Trevor, and it's just been so long since I've been speaking with you personally.
I know.
Across the universe and keep yourself really busy.
There's a story going around. They locked you out on the farm there, and you've been on the farm ever since. What have you been up to?
I love it. Well, it was hippie harvesting season. That sounds like a really happy place to be, doesn't it? But
it does.
down and dirty and smelling like diesel is what I come home like.
Oh, I thought that was something that started, at Woodstock or something. Did it?
It's a bit like that. Sometimes we're out there in bare feet and running amok, and it's really good. And then of course that went on to dahlias and a few other products, and we've almost done our harvest for the year at the farm, which is really nice to be at the end of the winter program.
Now you're telling me that you've got a lot going on as well, so there's a lot of stock in beds for material that's going to come up next year.
Yeah, of course. We're always planning well into the future. So we've probably still got about 10 acres of product out there. Double freesias flowering at the moment that just looks super exotic.
Wow.
A couple of new varieties coming to town, which is awesome. Next year's hippie crop has been in the ground already for about 8 or 9 months. Mm-hmm. So they're looking really good and poking their heads up, ready for flowering at about Christmas time for us here in Victoria.
That is awesome, mate. Now, you and I, we share something. I think I always liked them. I think I contacted you about an experience I'd had on Norfolk Island a couple of years ago, where I just saw all these beds of hippeastrums, a lot of them planted under trees. And, trees can be a difficult spot to get things to grow. And there were these amazing hippies in flower. And of course, there's such huge flowers. And I came back to you and said, oh, mate, I've got to get my hands on some hippies. And I reckon it was about a week later, a few crates turned up with hippies, which are now in my garden. I didn't realise that you had the passion as well, right?
Yeah, it's right there. My garden's full of them. It's become my favourite product. Like, I grew up with dahlias and, thousands of varieties, and they are gorgeous. But hippies are just, there's something special, and they've got into my heart, and I love growing them. I think I've got the biggest collection in Australia. There's some great collectors out there who have got even nicer varieties than what I've got. But we got some beauties, mate, and I'm in love.
But just so people understand, you do it in three ways. Some of this stuff is stuff that you select and grow yourself. Some of it is you find some of the best breeders or growers, or somebody who's got some rare variety in their backyard in some little town in outback New South Wales somewhere, and then you get it and you multiply it and grow it. And then sometimes you jump, on a plane and head across to Holland, and you talk to the world's best breeders, and you import this stuff as well.
Oh, you've nailed it. Yeah, it's all of those things, from collecting the seeds and doing the cross-pollination. We do a thing called chipping, where we take some of the best bulbs and slice them like you'd slice up an onion into quarters or eighths, and do some special treatment with them to force them to have babies, so that we can get some quantity quickly. Short of going through a tissue culture process, that's the next quickest way to do it. So there's a little bit of science, there's a bit of luck, a lot of love that goes into it to constantly bring new colours to market.
And talking about colours, having been on the farm with you, and that story I think is coming up this weekend on the Garden Gurus, but having been out there on the farm and seen what you go through to get all the varieties, to grow them, to test, and we've got some footage coming up. If anybody didn't know what a hippeastrum was, those are those doubles that just blew my mind, and so many different colours. There's just such incredible variety. Look at that.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I remember being out there that day, and I was just all smiles because that crop looked magnificent.
Yeah.
And that's next year's crop. And above that bed was this year's crop that we've harvested since then. So, what can you say? It's the beauty of nature, but it's also, the beauty of humans loving nature and trying to really develop, some real sexiness around these products.
And David, to clarify, just for those people looking at some of those flowers going, nature can't make those blooms that big or with that many colours, it's got to be genetic manipulation or something. It's not that. It is beautiful natural breeding, and then selection of each of those unique ones, and then multiplying those up, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You might end up with 7 reds, and you've already got enough reds, but occasionally they throw up these beautiful, beautiful colours, and it's a selection process to say, well, this one's growing really well and it makes good babies, so that we can get that crop up and make it commercial. But it's all nature. And then all we have to do, like you said before, is give it some food. In the farm situation, we need to, we've got a dozen ton of chook manure coming next week, so that we can top dress and let them live a healthy life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, the other thing that blew me away being on site, now I've got singles at my house. I don't have any doubles. So you know what I'm going to order with you this week. But the singles are beautiful, but the doubles were mind-blowing. I might ask Shay to play that footage again, because there's a beautiful double red in there that pops up on that particular bit of footage. But I mean, they're just incredible, those reds. Look at that. Look at them there.
Yeah, look, I mean, each stem gives you 4 blooms. They sort of, 2 of them open first, the other 2 follow on. And the colour is intense, but the layers of, it's like a triple double. In basketball, you've got just layer upon layer of petals. Look, aren't they magnificent bulbs, Trev?
That's next year's crop too, right?
That's next year's. Yeah, it's got another full growing season in it, so they're going to be enormous. And we've been improving that with our methodology and the types of food and when we give them the food. So, you know, I'm constantly learning about hippies. I'm only about 10 years in, so I'm a baby when it comes to growing hippie bulbs.
All right. Well, 10 years in is a lot more experience than a lot of us have. So let me ask you a little bit about how to grow them first. So, you know, are they difficult to grow?
No, they're very easy. Probably like a hippie likes to be long settled in its position. So if you're going to pot it up or put in the garden, the first year it's just going to set its feeder roots down and really lock itself in. And then the second year it's really going to put on some size and some growth. The flower's already in there, so the minute that you plant it, it's going to get some moisture and the flower's going to come up and you're just going to have this beautiful display. So yeah, probably not a full shade thing. You were talking before under deciduous trees, of course, fantastic place for them.
Mm-hmm.
So
what about feeding? You mentioned feeding. Is it important? Do you feed them before they flower? When do you feed them?
I feed my hippies twice a year, Trevor. The flower takes a fair bit of energy. It's a huge bloom that comes out of them, often 2 blooms. So they want to recover from that. So I tend to give them a little bit of, you know, that natural dynamic lifter or chook manure or something like that. And then we give them a little bit of a special David fertilizer to really plump up come flowering time. Give them that boost of energy so they're not using too much of their reserves. Because I don't want the bulb to get smaller like they normally would after flowering. I really want to pump that bulb up. So we're giving our customer really good value when they get their flowers.
Quick question with the flowers. Obviously, some of the varieties you've selected from cut flower growers. Can you cut the flowers? Are they easy enough to cut? And does that affect the bulb in a negative way or a positive way?
Now, it affects the bulb in a positive way because the flower takes so much energy. Normally, you would pick it before the bloom is even opening. So when it's still quite a bit of a spike and you just get that first hint of colour, and then it will last for weeks. So it is a really good cut flower. Even the doubles, Trev, you just need a good solid vase so they don't fall over with that weight that comes on them. So yeah, if you do pick the flower, you're just going to get better bulb development and a bigger flower for the following year.
All right, so theoretically now people are going to start thinking about planting them. Now's the time to get the bulbs. That's what you've just been harvesting. You've got a double collection. Let's just quickly talk through that. Aquero?
Aquero's new this year, Trevor, and it's I thought Elvis, which is in that collection, was my favourite. Dancing Queen's another one, not in the collection, but geez, that's got a great name. And then Aquero comes along, which is an improvement on both of them. And it's my favourite this year for sure. Okay.
And then you've got Giant Amadeus.
Giant Amadeus, yeah, which is a large flowering kind of sort of, I don't know, rustic tones in that one. And then we have a beautiful big double red there as well in double circus. So a nice fire engine red.
I think that might have been the one that we were looking at earlier on.
That was my favourite tasting one yet.
Yeah. Now tell me. So you've got a double collection, and then you've got a single collection, right? Or are they all coming as one?
No, that's the double collection. The single collection separate. And both have this fantastic, amazing offer of 40% off. We'll go into that in a second. But there's a couple of new ones in here. Orange Sovereign is one that the Dutch use for forcing pots, right? So they put it on the pot early, mid, late, and get those beautiful double blooms up. So it's one of those that nearly every time gives you 2 flower stems off each bulb.
Gee whiz.
And then a couple of colour breaks there. Picasso, every bit the painter there with a fine brush edge around the outside. And Gervais is just an amazing, almost like fimbriated petals, lines coming through it. Just some crazy new things that we've got, Trevor.
Now, the thing that people will probably be getting an understanding of is these take years and years and years to get to, you know, a beautiful big flowering bulb like that, which is what you deliver. And there's so much investment in that. There's also that selection process. And I saw that firsthand where you're on site going through and saying, no, that flower is not true to this variety. So I'm taking that one out, because we always get variation as we do, you know, in people. But you take them all out, so you've got that consistency. The bulbs have to be at a certain size, otherwise they go back to the field. There's so much goes on, so much handling before they even get to the point of being available. And now they are available. Tell me what the deals are.
Okay, so the deal is there's a Hippiastrum single collection, valued at $120. We're doing that one for $72, Trevor. And you get the 4 bulbs, 4 different colors, separately labeled in that package. We also have the double collection, which has got that beautiful Aquaro, which is my favorite, double Circus, which is your favorite. Also 40% off from $142 down to $85.
Wow. That's pretty amazing stuff. Now, for those people who don't know, of course, the first thing that a Hippiastrum does when you put it in the ground or in a pot is it starts producing some pups, and in no time you end up with this beautiful cluster of not just that one flower, because you've already alluded to the fact that first year is really about settling, second year is really establishing, and by year 3 and 4 you've got these amazing clusters of incredible flowers. And we're talking, when we talk about spring flowers, we talk about things that we all love, tulips and daffodils, etc. They're lovely flowers and they're of a certain size, but these things are on a grand scale, so much bigger.
Your display's huge, and you'd have noticed from those crates that I sent across, 2 years later, you've got 3 times the number of blooms almost. The mother bulb, if it's healthy, will give you 2 blooms. The baby a year after will give you a bloom. Heaps of foliage. The foliage looks a little bit like clivias or clavias, big broad leaves, and they do just put on a sensational display. So give them a little bit of space when you put them in, because they will love you for it and grow a family.
Well, I've got to tell you, mate, we've started something here, because I'm looking at the comments that are coming through from people. Everybody's asking questions about them. They want us to show the flowers again, which we might do a run through a bit later on, I reckon. But David, for people to get their hands on these, the paddock looked like there was lots, but of course I know there's never enough. People are going to have to move pretty fast. It's gardenexpress.com.au.
You've nailed it. And just put your order in online. We've got the customer service team there ready to go if you want to give them a call. But put your order in online, and already on Monday we'll be shipping these things out to the lovely customers, and you'll have flowers in no time.
You are the one-stop garden shop. It's 24/7. People can shop, and of course it's delivered direct to your door, mate. You've did a great job. Thanks so much. Really excited about those. Keep some doubles to one side for me. I definitely want to add them into my garden.
Well, you need to buy double of the doubles, Trev, so that you can pick the flowers but then have the pots.
Love it. Good solution. Thanks, mate. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. Nice to see you off the farm and talking to us again.
We'll do a little bit more of that now that we're organised and ready for planting season.
Awesome, mate. And you can tell everybody about your yellow Lamborghini tractor when you track it down, okay?
I've got to go punch somebody up, I think, to get that one back. It'll be amazing to be in a Lamborghini on the farm. But
we'll talk about that another time.
We'll stick
Thanks
with the
very much, David. That's great. We've got a great show today, and we've got lots and lots of stuff coming through. I think Gabby just said, thanks, Dave. Did a great job again, didn't he, Gabby? He's a terrific bloke. And the thing that I do emphasise all the time is this is a family business. This isn't some giant Google organisation or something like that. It's a family business that have set up and use the internet to make gardening so much easier for people. And it means that you can get stuff that, look, he's it's been several generations in the Van Berkel family now that run this business, but David's a passionate horticulturalist who loves his plants, and the chance, for me as another horticulturalist, to be able to find some new things that I can put into my garden, and David makes it easy. Well, that's why we love having them on the show, and they're a great supporter of what we do, so it's fantastic. So please jump online, don't miss out, grab your hippies before you miss out. Now I'm going to fly into some questions. I did just see a few though. Robin Shaw brought up hippies I bought last year and which flowered, didn't make it through the Canberra winter. I think I was going to move them to pots, but didn't move fast enough, sadly. You know what? If you've got heavy soils, not a bad piece of advice is to grow them in pots. They do incredibly well in pots, but they are a big bulb, so you want a nice big pot. Interestingly enough, just watch, Robin, as the weather warms, you might be pleasantly surprised. Fingers crossed for you. But certainly all bulbs, particularly things like tulips and daffs, etc., you don't want them to be in soil that's frozen and sodden. The combination of those two things is not good for some of them. I should be very clear. Okay, we are going to fly along. David Van Berkel is on his way. Shaylee is pushing some buttons for me, and I'm about to start answering some questions. We've got 5 Kalamunda Garden double passes to give away, so make sure you get your question in. If you are in Perth, we'll be able to give them to you. If you are not, maybe you can come for the next one. We'll ask Andy and Mandy about it a bit later on. Let's fly into these questions. Glenn Miller, good friend, Gold Coast. G'day, mate. How are you? You've got several African tulip trees. You're not happy with them. They're a weed in Queensland. Some people revere them in other states. They're the ones with those beautiful orange, huge tulip flowers, but they can be quite a weedy plant. Is it okay, is your question, to have their leaves with others in your compost mix? Okay, and he passed a comment. What a great job the team did to get all the questions answered while I was overseas. And that really came back to Shay Lee. She's a little legend in this one. We've got a gem in our team, and I'm very, very grateful for all her hard work. You are absolutely right. The question with regards to African tulip leaves is, yes, they will work really well in compost. They are just a green addition. They're rich in nitrogen. If you throw them in with some dry, if they're green leaves and you throw them with dry leaves, they'll help compost faster. So anything that's going to add carbon to the soil is going to help improve the soil. There's not too many things. A lot of people say, oh, eucalyptus leaves, can't use them. Well, you can use them. They do break down. Just break down a lot slower. And it's those waxy oils that are around the outside of those leaves that slows it down. But they're still valuable and very important in building the health of your soil up. Lynn Winstanley, hello, Lynn. You're in Claremont over here in the west. You'll be getting a bit of a rain right now as we chat. I need some advice on the best fertilizer for my gardenias, hydrangeas, and moraias, please. They're all in the same garden beds. Now, I can't quite see the bucket I was going to show. I thought I had one sitting around here, but I'll find it another time. There is a Troforte blend. It is called Camellia, Rose Camellia and Azalea, I think it is, off the top of my head. It's a controlled release. It's okay. It's everybody else is looking around now because I did the look. It's probably not in here, but it's in that big bucket. It is absolutely brilliant, Lynn, with regards to particularly gardenias, hydrangeas, moraias, camellias, and azaleas. So any of those, or magnolias, any of those that sit in that family of plants, don't be scared to add them. They're absolutely brilliant. Marina Carvin, hello, you're from Sydney. Just wondering if I could explain what garden lime is used for and what plants would benefit. Okay, let's drill back down because I've been talking about lime in gardens a fair bit just recently. Lime is a rich source of calcium. That's effectively what the common name is. It's lime, but it's calcium, and it comes in different forms. Now, why is calcium so important? Calcium adds cellular strength to plants. Now, if you, for example, are growing potatoes or root vegetables or even roses, and you're not putting this in, sometimes the cell walls can end up not being very strong, and that's because they're missing the calcium. Now, you add the calcium by adding garden lime in. The downside is that garden lime is very alkaline. So if you're in a very alkaline garden environment, for example, coastal Mornington Peninsula or Western Australia off the Perth coast, for example, most garden soils are actually very alkaline. You don't want to be putting garden lime into those. You want something that is going to be pH neutral. How do you still add calcium? Well, the answer to that is you put something else in. Dolomite, gypsum is probably the number one because it's absolutely pH neutral. So you're putting it in, you're giving them the calcium, they get it, so they've got the cellular strength, the plants are stronger, they grow better, they perform better. Very, very important with things like capsicums, tomatoes, even chilies, right? Because you get blossom end rot. And if you're not adding that lime into your soil, into your garden bed, that calcium, blossom end rot is not a disease that is driven by bacteria or virus. It's a disease caused by a deficiency. It's a bit like scurvy was for sailors in the old days on ships. They needed to have vitamin C. So they would carry citrus onto the ships. As long as they ate some citrus during their journey, they didn't get scurvy. It's the same thing, and it's very important for most plants and most gardens that at a certain point we do lime them. So calcium via either gypsum, dolomite, or your general run-of-the-mill garden lime, which you'll find in garden centres. Phew, that was a big mouthful, wasn't it? Hopefully that all makes sense. Carol Bush is from Riverton. I've got a couple coming in from WA at the moment, and then we'll go to Victoria. Carol Bush is in Riverton. Something splitting my gladioli stems. What can I spray on them? You could have weevils. They do like gladiolis, and my gladiolis are starting to shoot as well. The real solution is either the old-fashioned Carbaryl or modern-day Maverick. Both of them really good treatments, and you do need to spray them. The other thing you should be thinking about is if you're going to use Maverick. Maverick's a very good one with regards to helping control thrip. Western flower thrip tends to spoil gladiolis, and it's not an easy thing to solve at the moment. There's a lot of people thinking about bringing in beneficial insects. A lot of good beneficial insects at the moment that will really help you in that space. So you can do one or two things. You can jump on site to thegoodbug.com.au, or alternatively, you can do this. You can apply one of those two treatments. Maverick is probably my preference. It's a little softer, but it's equally effective. Kerry is from Rolling Stone. I've got an elkhorn which has fallen off its plastic board. Okay, that you bought it on. What's the best way to put it back on a wooden board? I literally just get tree trunks, and cut through them. So you want a decent trunk like that. And cut through them so that you end up with a flat board. And then with a couple of straps, packing straps are always good. Stockings can also be used, pantyhose, etc. And run them across the front. So you're pushing the plate back onto that, nail them onto the wood. That's all you have to do. Give them a really good dose of sea salt at that moment in time. Stick a couple of banana skins behind them. As you're moving into the growing season, which is in the next month or so, start feeding you really want to use fish emulsion. So fish emulsion is going to get the best growth for those ferns. Hopefully that helps. Kerry Height is in White Gum Valley. So we're still in WA at the moment. I'm interested in obtaining a peony variety that will grow here. Kerry, it's more about where you plant them and probably less about a variety. So they've got to be in WA. If you're in the Perth metro area, probably Bunbury North, I would suggest to you that they have to be on the south side of the house. They have to be getting afternoon shade and be protected from that hot afternoon sun. You need to put them into a really nice rich soil, feed them on a regular basis. So again, a liquid fertilizer is a really good thing. Forget about flower in the first year. Try and get them established. It might take 2 years before you really get a root system down. And then in year 3, you should start to see flowers. Hopefully that helps. Jeannie Napier. Hello, Jeannie. A tractor plant is being eaten away by black, fluffy caterpillars. Catching them by the dozen. How can I get rid of them? If you're catching them by hand, that's a good way to do it, as long as you're getting them all. They can do a lot of damage this time of the year. There's a whole bunch of those black fluffies around, and I've certainly had them in my garden just recently on my mint. They do love that as well. The simple solution is really to probably use a caterpillar focused spray, and there's some sprays that are not chemicals. So there's one called Spinosad Advanced. It's from Yates. It's a very effective one. The other one is Dipel. Both of them completely natural and really effective in getting rid of these caterpillars. So get it, spray it, they'll go. Margaret Campion. Oh, you're in Belgrave, Margaret. That's right, I forgot. Could you please tell me why my crepe myrtle has never flowered? One simple thing about this this particular problem, Margaret, that tells me a lot about you. Crepe myrtles will not flower generally if they're given too much love. If you're kind to them and you feed them, if you water them during the growing period all the time, they tend to just put on growth. They don't need to flower. They don't need to reproduce because they know they're super healthy. So they worry about size, getting big, because when they do flower, they'll produce so many babies from that. It's going to be good. So you could do the old trick of leaning the axe against them. You could nail some copper nails into the base of the trunk if you wanted to do that. What I would do is I would make sure they're not getting any water during summer. You only hand water them when they start to show signs of wilting, and you definitely make sure they feel like they've got to reproduce. They've got to reproduce, so they've got to produce flowers. And as a consequence of that, they'll produce fruit. Hopefully that answered that. We've come back to WA. We've got a lot in WA. There's going to be some real good entrants in for this Kalamunda Garden Festival prize. I think it's 5 or 6 double passes? 5 double passes. That's pretty cool. Joe Jones, you're in Serpentine. Can you use battery-operated hedges to hedge your gardenias, or do I need to hand prune? No, don't be scared to give your gardenias a good prune. And battery-operated hedges are a great way to do it. Nice and easy on the back, very easy to use, very, very precise in the cutting. That's probably an important thing. So probably one bit of advice I'll give you, Joe, is as soon as you've done that, feed them with a flower promoting fertilizer, not a foliage promoting fertilizer. They're going to produce the foliage anyway, but when they produce the foliage, immediately, pretty much as soon as the first 2 to 4 leaves come out, the next thing that will come out will be flower buds. So you'll get this nice green growth and then lots of flowers. It's a really good way to go. Marsha Blake, now I'm not sure, but Marsha, you're a regular. I just can't quite remember where you're from. You took some cuttings from the Tamarillo tree. One cutting has struck roots, maximum 2 centimetres long. What would the next step be? They've been inside in water under a grow light. Oh, you're in Perth. Marcia, I think this might be the Tamarillo I gave you actually. Anyway, the cuttings, they easily grow, right? So they will drop down roots. You've done very well, 50% strike rate. Pop them now into a small pot, not a huge pot. Really good quality potting mix, just a general all-round potting mix. Ease them in, don't compact the soil in too much around those roots. Let it get established, give it a water in, get established. Probably within 4 to 5 weeks, it's going to be ready to go out and plant in the garden. As soon as the roots have wrapped around the outside edge of that pot, get it into the garden, into a spot where it can grow, or a large pot, a half wine barrel being ideal, and you will have fruit probably within 12 months. It's incredible how productive Tamarillos are. Marina Carvin, you're in Roselands in New South Wales, very concerned about the finger lime that you've got. You're getting conflicting information. Poor plant's not well. Marina, you know what? They can be quite sensitive. In fact, I was doing some stories for the Garden Gurus in Singapore on a rooftop garden in the Park Royal Hotel in Marina Bay. It's a beautiful, it's called the Garden Inn Hotel. It's a beautiful property. They have a rooftop vegetable garden, which supplies their main restaurant there. And the chef was so proud, and he showed me all of their finger limes that were all growing. And he goes, look, I'm growing finger limes. And finger lime's incredibly expensive up there. I think it was $120 a kilo. So he was growing all these amazing finger limes. It was looking fantastic. And then suddenly they got this long, hot, dry period, and he wasn't keeping the water up to them. And he said, but they're an Australian native, right? They should be able to handle those conditions. I said, no, they have to be watered. And they didn't keep the water up, and unfortunately it went off. Now, the reverse to that is if you get a very cold winter, particularly with frosts, they can also drop their foliage. The trick, it's probably to apply right now some sea salt, okay? Give the ground a good soak with sea salt. This is all about stimulating root health and soil health. And once you get that healthy root system going, it'll start pumping some energy back through that plant, and it'll start growing again. As soon as they're growing, feed them, but don't feed them with a fast release fertilizer. Feed them with a controlled release fertilizer. And again, a specialist fertilizer focused on fruit. That's really important. Whew, we are belting through these questions. We've got a couple of repeats coming through. That's okay. I don't mind answering questions, more than one question for you. Lee Varel in Brisbane. Hello, my potted bougainvilleas are looking very sad. What can I give it to perk it up? Right now, Lee, I would do something a little different to all the other advice I've been giving, and that is I would give them a really good feed, and I mean absolute drenching with power feed. Now, the liquid power feed, and they've got one called Power Feed Gold. Bougainvilleas typically this time of the year, this is the time when they tend to drop all their foliage, the flowers have fallen off, winter has kind of had an impact on them, but that liquid power feed, if they're in pots and you drench the pot, the growth will be amazing in a very short period of time as soon as the weather warms up. And I don't know, you could do this maybe 3 or 4 times, to be quite honest. So probably every 2 to 3 weeks over 3 or 4 applications, and the turnaround will be amazing. And I'd love you to take a photograph now, and in 3 or 4 weeks or 5 weeks time, take another photograph, and in 5 weeks time, take another photograph and share it with us, because I think it'll surprise you and it'll blow everybody else away as to how effective that strategy is with potted bougainvilleas. Okay, let's go to Ballarat. Michael Ubacha has got some photographs for us. So this is the photograph of a lemon or lime tree my son left behind. It has this yellow tinge around the outside. I feed it with sea salt, I reckon that is, and citrus powder. I'm not sure what citrus powder is. Any thoughts how to improve this? This, Michael, do not worry. This is very common. This is, we've had lots and lots of questions recently with regards to citrus and particularly lemons, yellowing in the foliage. And it occurs in colder weather when you really see deficiencies come through. So the root system's not moving very fast. The plant's still doing a little bit of growing, starts taking nutrients away from the outside edges of the leaves and they start to turn yellow. So what you need to be doing is obviously boosting the food. Now the weather is starting to warm up. Now is the time to feed them. And again, look, a citrus fertilizer is the absolute go. So I reckon that's the way to go. Margaret Campion, you're in Belgrave. We talked about this before. Bought some bags of sheep manure. Do I dig it into the garden or can I throw it in around the garden? You don't have to dig it in. Makes the most amazing mulch. I tend to use it as a surface mulch and not worry about anything else. So I would do that, Margaret. Hopefully that helps with your garden. Let's talk garden plant of the week. Have you got a highlight in your garden? I've been taking photos in mine and I'm not sure whether Shaylee managed to get a photograph of this up, but this is my favorite plant at the moment, except she went for the tulip and I was going to go for what was I going to go for? The jasmine. Definitely not that one. That's the jasmine. There we go. Plant of the week, what we were going to do was just show you some of the various highlights. This particular one is my absolute favorite at the moment. So this is the winter jasmine, polyanthum. It is very popular. The fragrance at night of this through the whole front of my garden, and it just covers a small patch of fence, is incredible. It is worth every single bit of effort to get one of these going if you love jasmine perfume, because this is absolutely gorgeous. We'll just scroll through a couple of these other plants and show you some of the other features. Showed you the tulip before. Can't quite remember what the second one was. There's camellias. Of course, this is the japonica camellia. This particular one's called Debbie. It's a beauty. But camellias, the japonicas now are at their absolute best. I'm sure you've got camellias at home or nearby that you're admiring because they are just beautiful right across the country. And what else have we got? Is there anything else on our list? Oh yeah, hyacinths. Couldn't help but show this. These again come from my good mates at Garden Express. I love to get all my spring flowering bulbs from them nice and early, get them in. The hyacinths are putting on an amazing display, but of course they're another incredibly fragrant plant. This is actually in a garden bed, but I have some in pots, and the pots are right next door to my mum's place. Mum lives on the same property as us. She's got her own little villa there, and she's got hyacinths right next to the front door. So she's got this wonderful hyacinths perfume. Let's have a look. What else we've got? That's the tulips, the reds. I think I'm in love with the reds at the moment, but we've got all sorts of tulips coming through at present. What else have we got in that list? Is that it, Shaylee? No, there's some more tulips. You can see the different types. These are in pots. This is one of my favorites. I need to ask David Van Berkel what this variety is because he gave it to me, and can you tell me what it is? It's a daffodil. How good's that? Ever seen daffodils like that? That center flower with the beautiful apricot and the fluffy edges, all sort of set above those white petals below. It's a stunner, and it's a later one to all the traditional yellows. So this has been a late flush coming through. Absolutely loved it. And I've got quite a few of those at the moment. What else have we got, Shay? You got some more for me to show, or do you think I've run out of plants to show this week? Because I've got heaps. She's just showing me. It's the last one. I will show you some more next week on the show, okay? Because I could waffle on about my garden and plants for ages. I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, Jeanette Miller, you are absolutely right. I haven't seen a daffodil quite like that one. That was absolutely beautiful. All right, we are going to keep flying along. Diana Kasor, I'm not sure where you are. My sweet peas are very tall and not flowering. Now the leaves look like they're dying off. Okay, Diana, oh, you're from Queensland. Pretty warm up there. And when you start to see those leaves browning off, often that's a sign that they're being attacked by thrips. Very common with sweet peas to get hit just as they're producing flowers. In fact, sometimes those strips will go to the flowers and spoil them as well. So I mentioned before spraying with Maverick, it's a really good control of those sorts of things. So I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Now, I would give them a spray now, and I'd spray them in about 2 weeks' time, 14 days ideally, because the breeding cycle's about that. So there's a bunch of eggs that are sitting there waiting to hatch. There's a bunch of adults that are laying eggs at the moment. You take the adults out, and then in 14 days you do another spray. And if you really want to try and break the cycle, in 21 days you do one more. That 3 process hit on those will do the world of good. All right, here's a lady who I got to meet the last garden festival, I think it was. Christine Talbot. Hello. Christine's very special. If you don't know, and everybody should know, Christine is Shaylee's nana. Hello, Christine. Thanks for joining us. What's a natural remedy for killing fungus? I think it's for controlling fungus gnats for killing fungus gnats in my pots. There we go. Fungus gnats are a really interesting one. So they're that black fly in your Chardonnay that so many people hate with indoor plants. Christine, the control for them is really interesting, because what they're doing is they don't actually damage your plants in any way. They're eating the organic material that are in your pots. And that's a very common thing. That's how they do that, and they'll lay their eggs in the soil. Now, there is this wonderful product from Yates. It's called Fungus Gnat Barrier, and it is a natural mineral that's been finely crushed and powdered, and you lay it across the top of the soil, and it creates a barrier, and it kind of dries out the eggs, stops the adults from laying more, and you won't get them once you've gone and spread that around. And I think that's one that you'll find very commonly down at your local garden centre as far as a solution to that problem. But if you don't have a lot of pots, then that's a really nice way to control it. If you've got pots indoors, go and have a look for that Osmocote for indoor plants. It's in that grey bag. It's a smaller, like a 10-litre size bag. Have a look for that. Now, the reason I suggest that is it doesn't have any organic pine bark in there, which is what most mixes have, and which is what the fungus gnats are eating. It has cocoa peat, and a cocoa peat based potting mix they won't eat cocoa peat, and it's inert, so they're not going to get any benefit or any nutrients out of that. So you won't see them, and that's why that particular potting mix is called an indoor plant potting mix. Hopefully that all makes sense. The hour is flying. We are at 3:48 here in the west, and it is still bright and a little bit wet outside for Perth, and I'm not sure how it is where you are. Maybe you can tell us as I answer your questions. I'll do one more here in Perth. Tracy Wallace is in Perth. I'm not sure exactly where. Is it okay to use pine mulch on my native gardens? I saw a show using it. Look, all mulch is good. Pine mulch is the most common probably mulch that you'll get. If it's pine needles, they will sort of acidify the soil a little bit. So that's kind of good if you've got alkaline soils, but not if you've got acidic soils. So if you know what your soil acidity is like, that might assist a little bit in some of that advice. But look, as a general comment, all mulches are good. Too much of any one thing can be a bit of a problem. So hopefully that helps you with that. Vanessa Morton in Queensland. Can I grow a lavender from cutting? Actually, that's the way they are all growing. All the lavenders that you'll find in your local garden centre, very few of them are ever grown from seed. They're usually grown from cutting. Cuttings are generally about that long. So you take a tip cutting, cut the bottom flat, you pull the leaves off the bottom, so you only leave maybe 4 to 6 leaves on the very top. So they're not very long, they're quite thin. Pop them into pots with maybe another 20 or 30 like that, and you'll end up with maybe 10 lavender that will actually drop roots into that. The mixture that you use is a special propagation mixture. Again, it comes from Osmocote, and they've got it in a bag, and it's perfect for cuttings. It's probably the most effective I've seen, so give that a go. Jenny Stubbo's in New South Wales, Queensland to New South Wales, having trouble with getting strawberry seeds to sprout. It's interesting. I don't know whether you've ever seen this, but if you ever keep a strawberry fruit long enough in a dry spot, not in the fridge, because if it's in the fridge, it'll get blue mold on it. So you don't want to do that. But if you actually leave a strawberry fruit to sit outside, sure, it'll shrink and start to sort of disappear, I suppose. But one of the interesting things is all the seeds that sit on the outside of the fruit will start to germinate if you've got a bit of humidity around the outside. So maybe that's the way to do it, Jenny. I've got to be completely honest. I've never grown strawberries from seed. I've always used runners, and I tend to use certified virus-free runners. And the important thing with that is that strawberries do get viruses, and as the virus builds up inside the plant, it reduces the number of flowers and subsequently the number of fruit. So that's why you tend to go for those virus-indexed strawberry runners that you can buy. Usually they're promoted as being from Tulangi or somewhere like that. So hopefully you have a bit of success one way or the other. Gabby Aline, I hope I got that right. What is the best shovel to own for general purpose digging and planting? I seem to keep breaking mine. All right, Gabby, last week, you must have missed last week's show. I was talking to Rowan from Garden Express. David Van Berkel, I mentioned David before, is a third generation. Well, he's not really. I think his family have been in horticulture forever. But certainly second generation here in Australia. And one of the things that David did when he set up Garden Express was he got a collection of high quality tools. And tools for a tradesman are quality. They always go for high quality. But what happens is at retail level, often price is something that people will buy on. So the retailers, the big ones, often will have some cheap ones and have some more expensive ones. In the case of Garden Express, they only have an expensive tool. And you might look at it and go, ooh, don't know, I think it's $100 or something like that for a fork and a spade. But it'll be the best spade you ever have because it is it's a very interesting spade. It's stainless steel and so is the fork. And as long as you clean them after you've used them, they will last forever. They are lifetime tools. And that's the important thing that I wanted to mention here. So where do you get them from? I jump online to Garden Express or look at the high end when you go to the I don't know, to your local Bunnings or wherever you're going to go. What I mean by that is that you need to look at it. You need to be sort of saying, okay, well, you know, I get what I pay for. If I want a tool that's going to last and I can trust and rely on and it's not going to break, I'm going to need to spend some more money. And there's certainly some very good brands at that higher end. I could run through the story behind tools for a long time because there's a lot of variation in the quality. There's a lot of science in how they're made, even how the blades are pressed. There's so much with regards to strength, and it really gets down to what you get what you're paying for. So hopefully that helps. Leah Robinson, when's a good time to grow figs from cuttings? Leah, right now. Great question, because right now is the time to be taking some fig cuttings. Want them about that long. A lot of people take them straight after you've cut them off the tree if you've done some pruning. But believe it or not, if you leave it if you want to grow some, leave it to now and find some nice long lengths about that long, they'll just be starting to move. So you just see the buds starting to burst. You don't probably want them with leaves on, although you can do. Pop them into, and it can just be a free draining potting mix, or it can be a mix. It's a combination of cocoa peat and coarse river sand. The important thing is actually drainage. Dip them in, I'm going to say preferably a root gel, not a hormonal powder. And after you've cut them, let them dry. Dip them then plant them, and then I'm going to say 8 weeks down the line, they will all have roots coming out the base of them, and you can transplant them into individual pots. Hopefully that helped. All right, let's keep rolling along. Don't forget to tell us where you're from. Tracy Wallace, no, I'm not going to be talking at the Kalamunda Garden Festival. There's some really talented people coming along, and I made a contribution, I think, not the last one, but the one before, and loved doing it. But there are so many people who work in the role that I have as an advisor, a garden advisor, and the team at the Kalamunda Garden Festival have done an amazing job at bringing people in from all over the country. In actual fact, a former garden guru, Phil Dudman, who you may remember from the very early days of the Garden Gurus, he was our Queensland correspondent. He is one of the people that are coming across from the East Coast, and there are a whole bunch of really talented locals that are going to be there talking as well. And you may see me wandering through the crowd. I'm planning to come and have a bit of a wander through and buy a couple of plants and just say hello as we're getting around to all my friends in the industry, if that makes sense. June LaFrance, hello. Vincentia, I'm not sure where that is in New South Wales, June. I'll do some research. My jasmine and camellia have not started to flower yet. Should I be concerned? Probably not. It probably suggests that you've had a cold winter and that they're just running a little bit behind. I do need to know where you are, because I suspect that you're in cooler conditions, but they should be coming into flower very, very soon. I wouldn't worry too much. Robin Shaw let me know that it is cold and clear in Canberra, and I'm hearing that from all my friends. In fact, my friends in Melbourne have also sort of been raving about how cold it's been. That just means it's a later winter. It's going to be a really wonderful, wonderful spring for you. The funny thing about colder winters is the plants rest longer, and a lot of people think, oh, that's kind of like not necessarily the ideal scenario. Well, let me assure you that that the situation when you have a longer, colder winter is it just means your plants will rest longer. Those that go dormant, and it does them the world of good. It's like us. After a good night's rest, you can take anything on the next day. So you can imagine how good your spring is going to be. And we are expecting, particularly on the east coast of Australia, a warmer summer, a warmer, drier summer, and that will promote stronger, better flowering. The important thing to remember with that is that there are some things you need to do. You need to make sure you've got your irrigation right. If we're not getting regular water, that's going to be problematic. And feeding. Feeding is vitally important with plants. They expend so much energy, and most of the ones that have been bred and go into gardens knowing that they need to be fed to support the amount of flower they've been bred to actually produce. Whew, there's a lot there. I reckon we need a little break. How about we go and have a chat with Andy and Mandy? Hi guys, you guys, you're on site. Hey.
It's bucketing down, mate. It's bucketing down, but it's...
I couldn't believe it. When we started the show, this huge band of rain came through and hit, and I said to Shaylee, did you ask Mandy about the rain? And she said, no, she said it's a bit cloudy, it'll be fine. It just got there, hasn't it?
It's about half an hour ago, mate. And I'll tell you, the park's looking great. I mean, it's a beautiful park up here in Stirk Park, as you know. The fences are going up, the marquees are going up. We're bringing some stuff in now. We've been doing the marking up during the week and everything, so it's
ready to go almost.
Yeah, you reckon? It's not ready to go at all.
You know what? This is the best thing ever. There's nothing like some good rain before a great garden show. Now, it'll rain today. Tomorrow, people will be setting up all their displays, and it all happens on Sunday, right?
Yes, Sunday from 10 until 3. So it's only a 5-hour event, but we really jam so much in. There's 3 stages here with, as you know, with 5 speakers at each location. So there's 15 talks in total. We've got over 200 stall sites with amazing growers. All the stalls are gardening related.
It's our biggest one yet, really. Yeah. Like we've had to make some extra stall spaces to be able to fit people in. So it's our biggest one ever.
That's fantastic. Now, how many exhibitors are coming?
We've got about 130 exhibitors. A lot of them have been saying, look, we need bigger sites. We need bigger sites because we're bringing more stock in. So yeah, it's about 220 actual sites that we have, 130 exhibitors plus and amazing guest speakers, as you touched on. Phil Dudman, we're bringing him over for the first time. So we're so excited to see Phil in his talks. He's doing 3 talks. Composting is a big one that he's really focusing on.
He's really excited about that one.
And growing food at home, that kind of stuff. Millie Ross is coming over. So much amazing local talent as well. And great music as well. Like we really get great musicians here. The Junkadelic, of course. The Murphy brothers are performing as well. So there's the roaming flower fairies. There's the floral stilt walkers. There's floral face painting. All kinds of gardening stuff here. And like I said, we only take gardening related stalls. So it's for, tools, plants, garden ornaments. Yeah. So it really is great. It's about supporting, really the basis of it is supporting small business. So that's what we're really passionate about. And the local
you come back.
I've never done one of these before, everyone. I feel like I'm just talking to Trevor. Everyone's watching. Hello, everyone around the world, Australia, wherever you may be, anyone on replay. It's lovely speaking with you. I really love these lives that you do, mate. Honestly, I've been watching for ages, and the amount of information that you give everyone is bloody brilliant. So thank you very much, and thanks for having us on. But yeah, it's all about celebrating small business. That's what we're about, and it's
and just so people know, you know, when you're not doing this, you do this 4 times a year, but when you're not doing this, you're growing plants.
Yeah, mate. So I have a business specialised in medicinal herbs, culinary herbs, bush food plants, and yeah, that's what I do. So that's and then we normally work on this at the night time. So it takes a lot of work. It's about 3 weeks of full-time work for each event, and yeah, we donate our time to do that. And it's one of those feel-good community things that we do, mate. So it's
really is. It really is. It brings the whole community together. You know, for all of our friends on the East Coast, I know we're kind of isolated now because we're talking about something happening on the West Coast. But if you ever get over, go and have a look at the website, because you can see the dates of the next festival. It's a great event. It's 5 hours of intense gardening. There's so much to see and do, and there are so many interesting people. And as you said, there's entertainment. It's a great thing, and we certainly wish you guys all the best for the weekend. And we also wish you all the best because you've got some very exciting news to share, haven't you?
Yeah, you dropped it last week.
Yeah, we're watching last week. I told you we watched it, mate. I told you we watched it. But yeah, we've had a few problems with conceiving in the past, and now things are going to plan, my friend.
So 16 weeks tomorrow.
16
But
weeks.
you'd be able to count that because Andrew let it slip straight away to you, didn't he?
Well, congratulations. Well done. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the show. Get back to work. Do all the things you got to do. Make it a great show.
And thank you very much. And I just want to acknowledge your work that you do and everything that you do to help us as well, Trevor, and your team. And
means a lot.
You give so much to us and behind the scenes, mate. And he doesn't make a big deal about it, everyone. But I'll tell you what, Trevor really has our back, and we love you, mate. And thank you very much for helping us in so many ways, mate. We really.
No, you're very welcome. Now, go on, get off there before I get all teary. Go on.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Aren't they lovely? They're just a lovely couple. They do an amazing job. This festival is all the rage at the moment over here in the West. People have just fallen in love with it. And quite literally, the big challenge at present is there are thousands of people who are attending. So, so many people who are just absolutely loving that whole experience. And he did mention that it's a small, it's small business that's going there. These are all specialists. So there's so many interesting nurseries that have got such interesting plants, and you're talking to the owner or the horticulturalist or the botanist. And at the same time, you've got talks around the outside. I think there was a mention of Millie and of course, Phil Dudman. Phil Dudman is a remarkable guy. Always used to joke a little bit about Phil as a presenter because he's these very long arms and he's very animated. So you'll know if you go to the show what I'm talking about. He really is but an incredibly smart man and so much knowledge and such a lovely human being. So that's what that show's about. You can see Andy and Mandy, what beautiful people they are. We have just had a pleasure supporting them because they do so much, they give so much, and it's lovely to hear that this is going to be the biggest and best yet. All right, I could hear all this tearing going on in the background, and I think that that may have been, I'm hoping that wasn't Shaylee pulling her hair out, but it's not, which is good. It's actually all the people that entered for the 5 double passes, is that right? Do I name them? Is that what I do at this moment? Yes. Marcia Blake, congratulations. You've got 2 coming your way. Let's have a look here. Tracy Wallace, congratulations. You've got 2 coming your way. Kerry Height, congratulations again. And here's our lucky last. I hope it's for you. It is another Kerry Maluri, I think. I can't quite read it, but it's because of the way the thing was torn. So now, did I do 4 or did I do 5? I think I did 4. I've got 1 more to go. Sorry, can't count. And here we go. Fiona Hadley, congratulations to all of you. I'm not sure exactly how Shaylee's going to send those through to you, but we will sort that out and we'll contact you immediately after the show. Remember, we've still got the $50 gift voucher from Garden Express. I want to answer a couple more questions, Shaylee. Can we do that? I know we're meant to be winding up. But how about we go Namiki Mad Hatter? That's an interesting name, Namiki. I'm not sure where you're from, but Mad Hatter sounds pretty good. We've started planting in our front garden, faces west. We have planted rose bushes amongst anemone, ranunculi, great hyacinths, spiraxias, and freesias. Now you want to plant some Russell lupins at the back of the bed to get some more height. Really good idea, actually. Look fantastic. And then maybe if there's any gaps, you want to fill in iris and crocus. Put some sun-tolerant Daphne in around the rows. This is really good. What's your question? Oh, your question is, will the Russell lupins like lime and not fertilizer? Will the others be okay with lime? Can I put some blood and bone around the roses as well as lime? And the answer is, so to clarify, lime is not a fertilizer as such. It is a genuine garden mineral. It's calcium. So all plants benefit from calcium, but all plants need all the nutrients that come in and all around general fertilizer. So you need to make sure you're fertilizing all of them. Blood and bone is very good, actually, particularly good for very poor quality soils or soils that are going to be very productive. So things like if you're doing flower beds, if you're doing bulbs before you plant them, putting it in a few weeks before, definitely with vegetable gardens. Fantastic stuff. Put it in. Really, really good. Tahani Gorda. Hello, Tahani. I don't think I've heard from you for a while. It's great to have you join us. My pig face has mealybugs. How can I get rid of it easily? No, I'd question whether your pig face has mealybugs. I would put some money on it, Tahani, that your pig face has white scale, because that is what gets pig face. Rarely is it mealybug. But guess what? The solution is the same solution either way. That is, right now, get yourself a good mixture of a horticultural oil. This is really interesting because you've got a few options. You can go for the traditional garden white oil. You could also go for eco oil or pest oil. I would suggest in this instance that you go for the traditional white oil, which you'll find at your local garden centre. Mix it up. Now, the trick is, you've got to get it into the sprayer, and that sprayer, you've got to shake until the water is white. And that's all of the white oil mixed thoroughly through it. If you do not mix it up, half of, well, 90% of what you spray will actually be water. It won't have any oil in it at all. So the trick here is to make sure that you are mixing it up thoroughly. And this goes for everybody who's using white oils. It is grossly understated as to how much you have to make sure that that is agitated all the way through the water and that you're spraying water that is evenly mixed with oil in it. You do that, you'll control it. You might need to do it twice, Tahani, but after you've done that, they'll all be gone. All right, this is Shay's favourite question from today, and it's not a difficult one. Kerry Edie, this is a great question. Can you have too many plants in a courtyard? And Shaylee says, no, there is no such thing as too many plants. Don't you love it? Absolutely perfect answer. Well done, Shaylee, and well done, Kerry. That is a great question. No, you can't. You can definitely have a mixture of plants, remembering that you have some tall, you have some short, you have some in the middle. The balance between them is the absolute key. All right, I think that is pretty much it for the day. We are going to wrap. I'm going to give Kerry the $50 gift voucher. Congratulations. That was a fun question, and certainly Shaylee is spot on. You can never have enough plants. If you're in Perth, make sure you pop into the Kalamunda Garden Festival this Sunday. It'll be great. It'll be a really good day. Kalamunda's a beautiful little place as well. So there's wineries around the back. There's coffee shops in town. There's a couple of cool little craft shops. There's all sorts of stuff. Come and check it out. It's a lovely part of the world. If you are not, I want you to have the best weekend ever this weekend. We are moving into spring. When there are patches of sun out, if things are really obviously a little bit too drab, find those patches of sun, get out into the garden and enjoy it. We are heading into the best time of the year. Your plants will love it. Take photographs, share them with us on our Facebook page. We would love that. Of course, it is Father's Day on Sunday. To all those dads out there, happy Father's Day. One little tip for all dads that needs to be taken on board, in fact, for all men. 1 tomato a day will reduce your risk of prostate cancer dramatically, in fact, by about 80%. So please have tomatoes regularly in your diet. It's the red stuff, lycopene, that is so good for our health. And unfortunately, too many men, more men die of prostate cancer than women die of breast cancer. We need to look after ourselves better. My little tip, your little gift, it's a tomato a day. Keeps the doctor away. All right, we'll be back next week with another great live show, and I will be back here in Perth. I am heading to Melbourne early next week, and I'll get a bit of a taste of what the weather's like over there. I believe it's a bit cool, but I'll be in some gardens and I'll be having a bit of a look around. I'll report back to you. Remember, if there's any information that you ever want, you just go to our website. It's an amazing resource. There's all sorts of stuff, fact sheets, videos, all sorts of stuff. And of course, we have the Garden Gurus on. It is on Channel 9. It is at 4:30 p.m. across Australia, in New South Wales and in Queensland. You'll find it on 9 Life, because I think there's sports running at the same time on the main channel. But we can all watch it at the same time. If you do miss it, don't hesitate to go to 9 Now, where you will catch last week's show, the week before and the week before that. And what else? Don't forget our YouTube channel. We've got all sorts of information coming at you from all different angles, and that's what we're about, is helping you. If you've got a question, Leah Robinson asked, is there a code word this week? No, we're not doing the Troforte gift pack this week, but Leah, there will be next week. We are doing one next week for you to win that $250 hamper of amazing Troforte products. Wow. Well, that's it. I think that's it for us this week. Big thanks to Shaylee and also to Wei, who's been in helping today. Big thanks to everybody who supports us. And of course, thank you for joining us. It's very much appreciated. I'm Trevor Cochrane. I will see you next week. Well, I'll see you on Saturday, hopefully. But if not, I'll see you next week for the Garden Gurus Live. See you then.